Hey Gadget Groupies, I'm back from Vegas, and it's time to recap, it's time to reassess. The experiment was, could I produce at least a series of vlogs from CES 2018 using only a smartphone? Shoot video, record voiceover, edit, render, and upload only from this device, which normally lives in my pocket. So, how'd we do? There are a couple main categories that I want to break this video up into, and I want to start off with the rig that I constructed to hold and operate the phone. I took the main base plate of an eye stabilizer dolly, attached a lighting arm, just a little swivel arm that usually has some sort of hot shoe mount on it, and then I've got a LumaCube for lighting, and then I'm using a Jobby Gorilla Pod for the base, for the stand, and for the handlebars, and a Jobby smartphone mount, because this is one of the few mounts that I found that could contain a slightly thicker phone in a big bulky case. First and foremost, I never dropped my phone, so props to the cradle. But there was an interesting philosophical difference in using a rig like this as to how we normally shoot video from our phones. Smartphones are very immediate devices. You pull it out of your pocket, you point the camera at something, you push record, and you've got a video. So using a rig like this and having to prep just a little bit more before each shot felt a little bit more like a traditional camera. Didn't have the same kind of immediacy I was hoping for in using a phone, but it did have much better ergonomics. If there was a weak link, it was my solution for lighting. Tiny little smartphone cameras need all the light they can get, so having a LumaCube on tap did prove handy for some of my more challenging shots. But even at its dimmest setting, it's honestly a little too powerful and a little too focused for an arm's length shot. Holding this as far as I could for me, with the GorillaPod I'm really only adding about 6 inches of additional reach. The LG V30 did not handle that hard spot of light very well for white balance. Usually warm ambient lighting around me, a hard spot of light on my face, and all too often the V30 would shift into a really blue tint. Even trying to correct for that in PowerDirector, I couldn't quite eliminate that icy tone for my night shots. For future setups like this, I don't know if I would stick with the LumaCube. I'd maybe move to a more traditional LED array, especially a panel that has dimmable controls for that color tone. But overall, I was very happy with how handy this rig was, both for handheld shots and then very easily being able to set it down on a table and keep shooting. That abbreviated a lot of setup that I would normally have to do from a more traditional camera and tripod. Covering a show like this in the future, I definitely consider resurrecting this rig, although I was very impressed with the layout and the setup for DJI's Osmo Mobile 2. So impressed, especially at that low price point, that I am gonna put one on pre-order. I'm gonna review it on this channel, and maybe it is time to move over to a motorized gimbal with some sort of stand attachment, and that could be a future vlogging and video production platform. I'm thinking there's gonna have to be a future showdown video between a homemade setup and something that is really well crafted from one of the most respected names in mobile and drone photography. Now, getting to the phone, the V30 handled video like a champ. I shot almost all of my video using the ultra-wide sensor, and it proved to be very easy to flip around from taking video of myself and then zooming in with the main sensor to catch tinier, smaller product details. Of course, we're talking about a phone, so there were some concerns. I did treat this like a standalone camera. This did not have my SIM card in it, and I was backed up by a BlackBerry Key 1. This was a fantastic communications device, especially considering I wasn't relying on the camera for this phone since I had the V30 in tow. Easily lasted me all day, every day on a busy show floor. This phone was a champ. I had some comments and questions from folks who were worried about the fact that the V30 does not have a removable battery, and that never became an issue because I was only using it as a camera when out on the show floor, and when I was back at my hotel suite or even just doing a little editing on the go, I had enough time to plug it in, sit down, and focus on getting some editing done. A lot of folks really seem to think I would have been better off with a different phone, like the Note 8, or the Pixel 2 was also brought up for that excellent video stabilization. A couple things keep me coming back to the V30 though. The built-in app for controlling video is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing like it natively built into any other phone. I mentioned before, the ultra-wide camera sensor is a huge benefit if you're lining up shots blind. Would have been much harder to frame up and pull off shots using a Note or a Pixel 2 with its more normal field of view. But one of the major reasons why I keep coming back to the V30 is audio. Pixel 2, mono audio and the mics are just okay. Samsung steps it up. They have stereo audio recording and the mics are pretty good, but none of them compare to the mics built into the V30, let alone giving me really precise controls for controlling audio not only from the mics on the phone, but also when I was using my headset. With all of the noise going on around me, that rumble of the crowd, I could go in, drop my volume so I wasn't peaking or distorting, fire up a low-cut filter so I could eliminate some of the rumble of the crowd around me, and then also set a limiter for those times where I might get a little spiky loud. There's nothing else like it on the market today. We care about cool images for our video, even our fun, shaky, goofy vlogs, but audio helps a lot. And I was running this thing through some really challenging conditions, and it's those audio controls that never let me down. But there's no point in capturing good video if you can't cut it up, edit it, render it, and get it up to the YouTubes. CyberLink's PowerDirector came in clutch. You can work with up to 3 layers of images, 2 dedicated audio tracks, including individual audio controls for the audio that's built into every video clip, text, transitions, speed controls to do hyperlapse style videos. You cut it up on a traditional timeline, and you can render it out in 4K. Of course, there are some really interesting differences in working from a phone as compared to when I normally cut video from my laptop. The actual act of cutting up clips and organizing them on your timeline, way faster from a more traditional computer. And I do wish that there was a better audio representation for your main timeline of clips, because that's usually how I cut my video, is looking at where I'm talking and then slamming those pieces together. I think we all would have expected that, working from a proper workstation or a proper laptop, faster than working from a phone. But what I wasn't prepared for was the ease of use for organizing clips directly from the source that's capturing them. I spent 0 time offloading files to my laptop. More than that, at the end of every little video clip, I could just drop it directly into the timeline and have a rough cut of what my vlog was going to look like. And then when I'd get back to my hotel room at the end of the night, that's when I could clean it all up, polish up some of the transitions, and make sure the audio was sounding as good as I could. We're basically begging and borrowing time from different parts of the production process. Way less time spent transferring video clips and organizing them into folders. I'm losing time in actually editing the timeline, but I ultimately arrive at a process that wasn't much slower from my traditional camera, laptop, mobile rig. The one major concern in working with a phone and using PowerDirector, you have to have a ton of free available storage. I would save to the memory card, but importing into PowerDirector, they create some kind of proxy file so that your phone isn't having to work as hard and you can have more layers of video or photos or text. To achieve the best performance, those files really should live on the storage built into the phone. A minor complication to this process, occasionally I would use Google Photos. The stabilization plugin built into that app is really terrific. So for some of these steady shots, even though I'm trying to hold as still as possible, there is no optical stabilization on the ultra wide sensor. So you'd see these little shudders, these little jitters. Google Photos worked a trick to smooth all of that out. But Google Photos has to create a new version of that file. So between the native video that I shot, the Google Photos stabilized version of the video I shot, and then the proxy file created by PowerDirector, I would have 3 versions of the same file for each file that had to be stabilized. I'm really happy we're entering an era of phones with 128 gigabytes of built-in storage, because if you pull something like this off, you're gonna need as much buffer room as you can get. Lastly, the part of this process I was worried about the most actually turned out to be okay, and that's getting these videos up to the YouTubes. It does require an annoying pair of apps, not only the main YouTube player, that's how you get the upload process started. I would also highly recommend picking up the YouTube Creators app, which gives you a back-end style of control which is much closer to what you would be able to use while you're uploading videos to YouTube through a traditional web browser. You can craft your description, throw up a custom thumbnail, make sure all your tags are set, and check in on your monetization. Again, quick tangent, every single video of mine from Las Vegas this year was demonetized. Thanks, YouTube, you're great. The annoying part of this process, though, going through an app doesn't save your description defaults. So I've got a chain of text on every video, links on how you can subscribe to different things that I'm working on or help support this channel, and I would have to manually copy that over for every video. But the actual uploading and converting worked just like it would have from a laptop. Spend all day having fun with the Newegg crew, shoot a bunch of really wacky videos, stitch them all together on your phone, edit that, render that, upload that, push publish, and share it on the web, all from a computer which can live in my pocket. I was really happy this worked out as well as I did, and I learned a lot about my own personal process, like sort of the good habits and the bad habits that I have when I'm cutting video on the go. So I'll open this up for you folks. Definitely drop me a comment below if there's a topic or an aspect of this kind of production that you'd like me to dig into deeper, like editing video on a phone, best practices for PowerDirector, organizing files, and I'm definitely planning a follow-up as I work out some of my other issues like audio. The boom boom mic on my MOJO headset was excellent, but walking around with a gaming style headset to try and record on the fly, not the most convenient. And if you want to see how the V30 performed, I've got my vlogs up and linked in the description down below, along with those other links as to how you can support this channel. Be on the lookout for our full CES coverage on the Newegg YouTube channel. We've got a ton of stuff from Asus, from Zotac, and all of the videos that Trisha shot. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend a lot of time together. We had two separate video production teams running, and she pulled some killer content from the main hall. And we're gonna be doing a full CES recap, Newegg now, January 18th, 10 a.m. Pacific live broadcast. We're gonna be going through the whole show, all the cool stuff that we saw, so I hope you'll join me for that too. Catch me around the web, SomeGadgetGuy on Twitter, on Instagram, on the Facebook, and I will catch you on the next video.